another episode of the Six Figure Vet Podcast, where we showcase the success stories of Black and Brown veterans who have successfully unlaced the boots. Today, we have Alisha Brown coming through sharing her extensive knowledge on career development and the ins and outs of human resources. Alisha is an employee relations and leadership development consultant, fellow U.S. Navy vet, and prior federal government human resource professional. Alisha is an advocate for naturalista sisters, having founded the Naturals in Troy natural hair and health show where natural hair education and influence takes place within the community of Troy, Alabama. Alisha is the co-founder of the Naturals in Troy Scholarship alongside her husband, Dominic, awarding graduate seniors of Charles Henderson High School, philanthropist, college graduate, keynote speaker, business owner, wife, mother. I mean, come on. Yes, we love a queen that rocks many hats, okay? As the owner and lead consultant of Alisha D Career Consulting LLC. She educates high school students and college students on utilizing authenticity to create impactful leadership journeys. Alisha has performed culinary sessions for John R. Lewis Leadership Conference in Troy and the United Negro College Fund Leadership Conference. Alisha has multiple media features to include Shout Out Atlanta, Voyage ATL, and CHW Radio Newsletter. Let's give a big, warm six-figure welcome to Miss Alisha, multifaceted, multi-talented, multi-faced Brown. How are you doing today?
I am doing good, girl. Let me tell you, I've had many introductions, but baby, I might need to hire you to do it every time because that's how I like to be brought on. Help.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, we need to warm the room before we give greatness, okay?
Read.
So I always like to start off each and every episode with a mental health check-in. So how are you doing today?
I am doing pretty good. Considering how I just left the VA.
Okay.
You know, down there talking to them old men, boy, they be funny. But I am doing outstanding. Thank you so much for that mental health check-in. It is much
Of
needed.
course. Okay, so I want to get some of your backstory. I am an Alabama native, so when I found out that you were in Troy, I was like, what is she doing down there by that kind of woods? So what is your backstory? Are you originally from Alabama? What were you doing prior to joining the service? Like, give us some history.
Sure. So yes, born and raised in Troy, Alabama. Graduated in 1999. During my high school years, I worked at a salon.
Yes.
Although my first job was at Hardee's. And so during high school, I fell into this whole I love hair thing, went and started doing cosmetology and started working into a salon. It was then called Headquarters.
Okay.
And so a week before I was due to go to state board, I had already went for the nails portion. I was getting ready to come up for the mannequin portion. And, I got into some things with my mom. I thought I was grown. And so mom was like, no, you can't stay here. Acting like that. You got to go. And so I was like, all right. And so my granddad, she turned me over to him and he took me down to the recruiting station. And he said, look up at the board at the recruiting station. They had all 4, maybe 5 of the branches up there. And he said, you can choose anything with the exception of Army and Marine. And so
You done eliminated half the options.
I'm thankful for it. Hello.
Hello, somebody. Hello, somebody.
So I looked at the ship. Actually, I called it a boat. I was like, is that a boat on the water? I can swim. And he looked at me. He said, sure. I said, all right, well, that's what I'm going to do then. I'm going to, whatever that is right now, I'm going because I wanted to swim, right? I'm a swimmer. And so I joined the Navy. I graduated when did I graduate? May, June? Yeah, one of them. And yeah, it was May. So I graduated in May. And then August, I was gone, same year. And did 10 years there. And
What was your rate?
came in as a yeoman.
Okay.
And midway, I was like, "Man, I'm done with this. I need something different." And then I had a great chief. She was outstanding. Shout out to Regina Teixeira, but she took me under her wing, and she was a PS. And
Okay.
so our offices were like right next to each other. I was on the
Right.
DDG, the USS Barry.
YNs and PS is like first cousins on the mama
Right,
side.
right. On the mama side. Definitely on the mama side, not the daddy. I agree with that one. Yeah, so she took me in, and then she was like, "You should just come on over here and work." So then I cross-rated over to the PN side, and then I got out as a PS because, we merged with the DKs.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're in the military, you decide, well, okay, so you graduated from college.
Yes, I did college and everything after the military.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
So because a lot of people, as you probably know or experience yourself, once you complete your first enlistment, they like you only got halfway to go. Don't get out.
Yeah.
What are you doing? You know what I'm saying? So, and after 4 years, they kind of like, okay, but once you hit that 8 to 10 year mark, people are really discourage you from leaving the military. So, what was your turning point of being like, okay, this is the best decision for me, and this is what I need to do?
Girl, it was my kids. My last duty station was Gitmo, and I came home on R&R, and he's my middle baby, but he was like 3, 4 maybe at the
Mhm.
most. And he looked at me the day before I was flying out. I was getting my uniform and everything together to head back to Cuba. And he looked at me, he said, "Mommy, are you leaving again? Are you leaving me again?" That's what he said. And I looked down at him and I said, "This will be my last time leaving. The next time I come home, it's going to be for good." So I was already planning to get out. But it just so happened that my caregivers at the time, because my husband and I were dual military,
Yeah.
so, you had to have that dependent care certificate and everything. So my short-term and long-term caregivers said they could no longer do it. And so I said, "Well, you need to put that in writing to me,
Yeah.
because I don't trust my kids with just anybody."
Yeah.
And so she did, she put it in writing to me, and gave it to my chain of command. I said, "I don't know what to do." And he said, "Well, yeah, I mean, you can go up and try to do, the separation, and see what the government says." And so
Yeah.
we did. We did, and the convenience of the government came. They kept my husband, and they separated me. And that was, I think, one of the best decisions ever, because our family was able to stay afloat while my husband was still in.
Yeah. Did you know you wanted to get into human resources when you decided to leave the service?
It was just second nature, right?
Makes
Um,
sense.
it was something I was very comfortable with. I'm not a people person, but I am a people person, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And so, it was all about, I want to solve problems and I want to
Yeah.
help people. And so I got to looking, and I was like, you know what? Everybody say you get out the military, you go to the federal government. And so I did. I I went right back to PSD. I was in uniform there. I think I did a rotation at PSD like 3 or 4 times,
Hmm.
but I ended up going right back to the same seat I had left, and in uniform.
Come
And
on,
then
God.
I'm telling you, so, having to learn all of that, to transition from the military to the federal government on my own, that was the big, like, wow to me. I just know I wanted to help people, and however that came.
What was the hardest part about navigating that? Because, PSs, for y'all that don't know, PSs and YNs, they're pretty much your human resources in the Navy, right? But it's a whole new beast going over to the Fed side. Like, it's a totally different thing. So what was the hardest part about navigating that change?
Girl, I think the hardest part was to learn that what I did from active duty military people that would be considered military HR
Hmm.
was nowhere near what I would do as a human resource professional in the federal government. So I had to learn case law. I had to learn different regulations and things
Yeah.
that just did not pertain to the military. In the military, all you had was the UCMJ. Well, over here on the federal government side, you got a whole bunch of, code of federal regulations and everything else
Hmm.
that you have to know. And so that to me would have been the big adjustment because I was already comfortable
Yeah.
because I was working with civilians already as a military member. And I mean, I'm from the South. So, I mean, Southern hospitality,
Southern hospitality
everything.
gonna take you a long way every
Correct.
time.
Correct. So getting used to talking to people, that wasn't the issue. The issue was just learning my now new role in life as a true HR specialist.
Yeah. In your interview with The Void, you stated something, and I was like, well, I gotta ask her about that. You
Mm-hmm.
stated people should narrow down their skill set. So, when you're getting out the military, well, you deal with a lot of people getting out the military, and so especially those that get out and say they don't have the most favorable rate, or they don't want to do anything related to their job in the military. How do you narrow down a skill set when you don't want to do what you did when you was in the military?
When I first started doing resumes, if you would have asked me that question, I'd be like, you know what, you're just gonna have to do it because you need the money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you just go with it, do it for a little bit, and then, you start converting over your skills.
Yes.
The more I have been professing as a career development consultant, I changed that a little bit and I say, okay, what is your personality like now? What do you like to do now? We'll come back to your skills, but now I just want to know what your interests are.
Yes.
Once we figure out what those interests are, we can, I tell everybody to do like a free personality test that kind of gives you suggestions for what career field is beneficial for your personality.
Yeah.
Then we come back and we look at it and we say, okay, so you did X, Y, and Z in the military. What's transferable to now this new career field?
Yes.
And, I help them transfer and translate what they did in the military to now make sense for this new position they want to go into.
And you know what? That you say that a lot of veterans or transitioning service members, they don't. I feel like as a veterans career coach or transitions coach, getting my clients to understand, like, hey, just because you were this, you also did a plethora of other things
Yes.
that you don't even realize, that you don't even understand, or that transfer over into a whole different career field.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So going into that, why do you think mentors are so important, or why people that are transitioning out of the military or just into a new career field, if it's a civilian, should use a consultant or a coach when trying to take on a new project or a new career?
So I think the first thing to your question would be to identify the difference between a coach and a consultant. So a coach is someone who's going to hold your hand through A to B to C to D, all the way to Z, right? They're going to
Right.
be right there. They're going to walk that path with you and they're going to, motivate you along the way. Whereas a consultant is a problem solver, right?
Yes.
I want to get in there. I want to see what your problem is. I want to give you the strategy. I'm going to show you how to use the strategy, and then I'm going to release you. And I want you to do good, right? I'm going to check in on you, but I'm not going to handhold you because you got to have some level of independency in order to be successful.
Yes.
So when you think about the difference in the two, you now can, tell individuals, here's why it's beneficial for you to do it, because you can get with a coach, somebody that, is going to walk you all the way through the end of your journey or to your goal.
Right.
Or you can get with this consultant where you just may need to talk it out. You
Yeah.
just may need some guidance, some tips, what have you seen in this space as you worked with other individuals? That's where I feel like anybody leaving the military would definitely benefit from, because going through TAPS is one thing. It's great. TAPS is a
Right.
great, even though I see it on this side from a career aspect, right? You have to get that first introduction to being a civilian. But how it's done in reality
Yeah.
is totally different. You would benefit from getting with a mentor, somebody that is in the field that you want to go to, somebody that's maybe performing a job that you want to perform after the military. Ask
Yes.
them the questions, right?
Yes.
How hard was this? you gotta, I think the biggest thing we do, because we are so independent as veterans, we don't like to go and ask others for help.
No.
And it's absolutely nothing wrong for that. I had to ask somebody, I don't call it pride. I don't like the whole swallow your pride term, but I had to get out of my own way.
Literally.
And I had to lean on somebody else to kind of guide me once I came in the federal government. So I had to learn different things. And so that's what I do now. I try to teach, and educate from that standpoint of, you don't know this. And I know you don't know it, but I'm going to help you, but you
Yeah.
have to be on the receiving end. And that's
Right.
a problem that we have as veterans. And it is what it is. At the end of the day, yeah, we did 24 years in, we did 10 years in, like myself. And, we think we know everything until we're pushed up against it. And we
Yes.
realize that we don't know. And
Yeah.
so it's like, I'm not asking nobody, I'm just going to do my normal thing. And that's kind of how we set up ourselves up for failure.
And you know what? And now that you say that, like, I see that in the veteran community, like, sometimes it could be difficult for us to ask for help. But it just hit me like, if you got out at 10 years, or let's take it a step further. You take 24-year Master Chief. You have been the subject matter expert for years. You have been top dog for years. So it's difficult to be the person that's in need now, especially as it comes to information, because you've been the person with all of the information in this one subject for so long, or maybe many subjects. Because if you're a Master Chief, you may be over people, operations, and of course, specific to your rate, you're the subject matter expert, or inspections. So now you're in a position where you might have to ask somebody that's younger than you, that doesn't have a much experience than you in this one area, or more experience than you in this area, but you have more knowledge than them in this area. And it's just probably like I know you don't want to use the term, pride aside, but you might have to swallow something.
Yeah. Yeah, you just got to move out. You got to get out of your own head.
Yes.
And you have to realize that. And it's crazy that you say like that whole 24-year Master Chief, because I actually had a 24-year Master Chief, and when I tell you, she was in the IT field, very top notch, very stellar, very decorated. Girl could run circles around everybody in the IT department. But when it came time for her to get out and to go into her new role, it was like, girl, I got a 22-year-old in here that I have to answer to. Sometimes it's going to be like that.
Yeah.
But that does not mean you have to stay there, right?
No, right.
Don't have to stay there. Get what you need and get out. I am not an advocate. I'm going to say this I'm very bold with it. I am not an advocate for someone staying at their job if they don't like it, if they're not learning, and if they're not promoting. Baby, you can look at my resume and see how many times since I was in the federal, how many times I left one agency and went to another one.
Yeah.
If I feel like I'm at a dead end, or if I feel like I'm up against a wall, like, I'm out. I'm gone. I got to do what I got to do. So, I encourage people to do that too.
Well, I tell people all the time, it was only one time in my whole life that I could have went to jail for not showing up for a job. And after that, honey, baby, you won't catch me again doing it no more. Honey, okay? I'm out. That can only be a one time in my life period, okay? You won't catch me in that position anymore. All right?
I get it. Yes, ma'am. I agree.
So as a consultant, you're solving these problems. What is the most common problem that you find yourself assisting your clients with solving?
I only get one? Gosh.
Okay, give me top two.
Okay, fine. Cool. We good. I would say the number one is, I did so many things in the military. How can I get this down to focus on just one thing?
Yes.
Okay? And then the second one, I have 24 years of experience. How do I get this down to 2 pages? Those are 2 totally different things. And they have 2 totally different frustrations behind them. And so when you start explaining the concept of, using a strategy such as the STAR method to focus on it, when you start telling them, hey, the number one thing that you can use to help develop your resume is the job vacancy announcement, not the position description. They for real, I didn't know that. Yeah, you got to kind of get in there and use these tools that are already presented to you. So those would be my top two things that
Okay.
I find myself always and forever assisting veterans with.
In a world of technology in
Mm.
2024, where, what I'm saying, everybody, even the babies come out with tablets and phones, what does successful networking look like? Because I remember when I got out, or before I got out, you can go to a little job fair, you can dress real cute, rub some elbows, but now I just feel like that is outdated networking. So what does successful networking look like in this climate?
So I would say in 2024, it's still there. That old school way of networking, depending on where you're located
Hmm.
geographically, it is still something that is being utilized. And I would even go to the extent of using a very specific example coming from VA to Georgia. The market is different tremendously. VA is a little bit more ahead of schedule, ahead of times when it comes to like technology and utilizing technology for those types of things. Whereas in Georgia, baby, now we going to this event over here. I need you to bring your business card. I said, business card? You need a
Business
business
card. You
card?
better
Okay.
take this little tab.
No. So you got to have it all. You got to have it all. Don't think that just because, we see all this stuff dealing with AI and dealing with, technology in general, that the old school ways are going away, because there are some areas geographically that are still utilizing the old school way. So just be prepared. That's all I can say. Just be prepared. Have it on hand.
That makes sense. And maybe a hybrid of them both.
Mm-hmm.
A hybrid of them both.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Alicia, it's one thing to actually go natural. All my black girlies, what's up? With the locks and the fros, okay, and the low cuts. I'm here for it. But what made you decide that you wanted to actually become an advocate for natural hair?
Man, girl, don't make me cry. So in 2013, I one of my homegirls, we used to hang out all the time, family more than anything through the military. She was Navy as well. She was diagnosed with brain cancer. And at the time of diagnosis, it was actually stage 3.
Mm.
And so I had already cut my hair off, because she was when I say she would rock a short cut in a minute. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna rock mine too. But we were still both relaxed. We were both relaxed at the time, and so I started my transition probably like 2011, 2012. She was diagnosed in 13, and when she told me that, the doctors, they X'd out everything else, right? It's not this, it's not that. It has to be the relaxers that you're utilizing in your head. Because she, like many other Black women,
Yeah.
would, experience the scalp burns, just trauma just from the chemical process itself.
Yeah.
And so we don't really know how deep that can go down into our skin. What can it do to our
The
scalp?
cause and effect.
Correct. We just like the beauty of it, the ease of
Yeah.
it, right? And so when she told me that, I said, I am never, ever, 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 ever going back to the relaxer. And
Yeah.
so I sat on the idea, and I called my mom. I used to be a model for my own natural hairstylist in Virginia. And so I started going and traveling to a lot of these expos and everything, just dealing with natural hair. And
Yeah.
so I called my mom and I said, Mama, I got an epiphany. This was in 2016.
Okay.
And she was in remission at this time. Everything was good. Everything was going great. And so I said, I want to do natural hair shows, but I'm going to bring it home. I'm going to bring it to Troy, because Dothan had something going on. Mobile had something going on in Birmingham and even Montgomery, but there was nothing in Troy. And I'm like, all these beautiful women around here with all this beautiful hair, they just need somebody to pour into them, to make them
Yeah.
understand that their hair is beautiful no matter what. So that pushed me into the arena of advocating for not just natural hair, but healthy natural hair, and also to healthy natural hair care at home, because a lot of
Mm.
people don't have access to a stylist.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have access to, financially to go to a stylist.
Yeah.
And so that's where it came from. It stemmed from her. My vow to her was to never return to the chemicals, and I'm still holding on. I have no thoughts of going back to it. And sadly, but she passed away 2 years ago. And so, but she fought and she fought and she lived. And so I still do my thing, even though I don't do my big event anymore. I still do my small event, which is curls, cupcakes, and combos. And I still have a natural hair scholarship that we go back to my alumni high school there. And, we bless a naturalista with some just to help her after school.
Yeah, I know that's right. I know that's right. What if you are a Black woman, especially one in the rural South, baby, you done got a perm. I think my first perm, baby, I was like 3. My mom was like, honey, we finna perm this up. Your hair too thick. Now the things that we embrace, it was like a burden, or we were made to feel like they were burdens at that time. So, everybody, I feel like the hair care industry now is trying to slowly try to normalize perms again with it doesn't have lye in it. It doesn't have this in it. What would be your advice to Black women that are seeing, the mass media try to push that message with, the safer perms, I guess you would call them?
I think my overall message would be seek a professional.
Mm-hmm.
I used to do them box perms all the time. Pink oil all the time. I used to do it. Used to burn the mess out my scalp. I used to do a lot of things, even though I had the sense of cosmetology, right? I
Yeah.
knew some of the things that weren't going the way they should have went.
Yeah.
And so I think now if people, even if women are looking to transition, back to the relaxer after being natural for so many years,
Right.
let a professional do it.
Yeah.
Let a professional install the cream in your hair. Make sure it's, shampooed all the way through. Because some people just prefer to be relaxed over looking at their God-given tresses, and there's
Right.
nothing wrong with that, but it just boils down to the healthiness of the hair.
Yes.
So just get with a professional. That'd just be my ultimate advice.
Yeah. Alisha, as a natural hair care advocate, I know you see a lot of discrimination as it relates to Black women in corporate America. As a Black woman, is it something we should or shouldn't be doing to fight against the injustices that we face with our hair? And not even just Black women, Black men as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess when discrimination, it pulls me into my HR world, because that's what I do, right? I
Right.
read case law and I see all these discriminatory things that come across. And although, my level of knowledge is at the federal government level, it's not to say that, oh, this is not happening in corporate, because it really is. In fact,
Yeah.
it's happening more in corporate and in scholastic environments than it is at the federal government level. I would always say speak up.
Mm-hmm.
Speak up when you know that it is not right.
Yeah.
We have now the Crown Act that has been instituted into certain states. But I'm just gonna keep it real transparent. It's great to have the Crown Act, but there is always a workaround. And I can say that because I have seen some things in my time of where, okay, that's the law. Okay, cool. But I can still do it over here. So
Yeah.
if an organization does not want an employee, they know how to
They'll figure out a way
turn
to
it up.
get you out.
Absolutely. So I think the biggest thing for us though is we can't continue to sit by and allow discrimination to blatantly happen,
Yeah.
especially when it's based upon our hair.
Yeah.
The way you wear your hair does not dictate your performance at work.
Definitely.
So I just say, just speak up, be more vocal about it, utilize, the resources that are there for you, file an EEO claim. Just remember, you need to have your stuff together before
Baby, tell. That's what she's telling y'all. Tell on these people. Tell on them. Report them.
I would just say, just make sure you got it together, before you try and take somebody to court, because it's up to you to prove the case, because you're
Right.
bringing about these allegations. So it's unfortunate, but yeah, it's happening, and it really hurts when you see it happening to the young kids, them having to cut their hair to be on somebody's sports team.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That burns my soul more than anything else. And I'm glad to see that parents are standing behind their children.
Yes.
And, no, keep your hair. We ain't going over there. We're going to go over somewhere else. So you can still do what you need to do.
Right.
Yeah. So we need to continue that type of action.
Most definitely. Do you think that because of some of the things that we face regarding our hair is why it's hard for us to embrace our hair?
Absolutely. And we have been told that our hair is ugly for so many years.
So long.
And so you start to believe that your hair is ugly. You start to believe that you're incapable of maintaining your natural hair. And that is so far from the truth.
Most
it
definitely.
Takes work. It takes a lot of work.
You have some triceps and biceps.
Yes, ma'am. You better believe it. You gonna get a cramped up finger and thumb and everything else trying to do a twist out and take that thing down. But you stick it out.
Right.
You got to figure out what works for you and what works for your hair, because I don't know if people pay attention, but Tabitha Brown is onto something when she called her Donna, because Donna got a mind of her own, okay? Like Tab got her own mind, but Donna got a mind of her own.
Donna do her own thing.
That's how it is. So once you had that conversation with whatever you want to call her, y'all get on one accord and y'all can make the natural hair journey work. But yeah, people have embedded in our heads for so long that we're just an eyesore all the way over, and and it's bad when the focal point is your hair.
Terrible. Yes. Now I love a Black woman that's doing her thing, mother, wife, business owner, all that. It really gives my heart joy, because for so long I feel like people, they try to make it seem like you can't do that,
Right.
Especially when you have kids. Like maybe you can do all that stuff with the husband, but if you got kids and a husband, your life is over.
Right.
Like it's time to not prioritize yourself. So how do you manage to build these wonderful brands, advocate, have this amazing career while balancing your home life?
Girl, I don't know. It's God. That's how that is. Girl, it's God. It ain't me making all this stuff happen. Girl, please. I lay down, cry, write in my 24 notebooks I got. Lord help.
Be nothing. Help me. You see me down here struggling.
You give me all these ideas. You put all this mess in my head, and then when I execute and I'm over here exhausted, he give me life again to keep it going. And so I don't know. I used to have great organization, and I have a 4-year-old, right? I have a 4, 18, and a 24-year-old. So life started all the way over. And I lost all of my organization with this 4-year-old, because baby, I'm on his schedule now. Like I'm the other two, they live their lives. They're good. But this one here, no, I'm on his schedule until he turned 9. He got 5 more years.
Why 9?
I don't know. That's just the magic number.
That's the age of adulthood. It's 9.
I don't know. Girl, I told him at 9, you moving out. You going with your older brother. You getting up out of here. You gotta go somewhere.
Not 9, you better have your license, baby. You need to start looking for a job, honey. Life will get you hard after 8.
It seems like you've been a member of my household before to know the conversation.
Listen, I'm not gonna play with you. Alisha, give the people one piece. If it was one piece of advice that you could give the audience, whether it's active duty service members, transitioning service members, veterans, Black women, those in corporate America, what is one piece of advice that you would give to the audience?
You can't change yesterday. You just got to live for tomorrow. That's it. Let it go,
I
let it
like
be.
that. Let it go. Let it go. Let
Mhm.
it go. I love that. Tell the people where they can reach you at. What you got going on? Let us up in your business.
Okay, well, right now I ain't doing nothing. Let's be real. Girl ain't doing nothing. I don't work so hard in 2024. I don't know how these people go full time. I don't like booked and busy. I like being busy, but I don't like being booked and busy.
Yeah, at least she's in her software era. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. That's what you want to call it. There you go. Now, this is holiday season. So this is my ritual to take every fourth quarter off every year. I use this time to plan. So for right now, I'm doing a lot of pitching
Okay.
for some speaking engagements next year. So I already have like 5 already lined up for the first quarter.
That's good.
Yes, baby, and 3 of them paid. Yes, Lord.
Hey, speaking engagement
Yes,
now.
ma'am. Run me my coins. I appreciate it. And just how I talk to you, that's how I talk to my audience too, because I don't like boring stuff. But that is about it. People can find me on LinkedIn. That's where I'm really heavily involved at on LinkedIn. It's Alisha D. Brown on there. You can find me on Facebook at AD Brown Consults. You can find me on Instagram at Alisha D. Brown. And I think that's it. Oh, and my website, of course, it's alishadbrown.com.
So all those will be linked in the show notes. Alisha, it has been a pleasure. You have
Yes.
came in, gave us some good down home gems, baby. I like that now.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you having me, Jayla. It's been a pleasure, honey. And let me just say, y'all can't see, but baby, this girl over here rocking these glasses. Baby, I'm looking at you like I'm finna go over here and get me some new specs right now. I love the look. Yes, ma'am. And the locks.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. This has been another amazing episode of the Six Figure Vet podcast, where we showcase the success stories of Black and Brown veterans that have successfully unlaced the boots. The Six Figure Vet is out. Hey y'all, it's the Six Figure Vet here. If you or any other active duty service member or veteran that you know is suffering with suicidal ideation, substance use, or mental health disorders, please tell them to call 988. The number is 988. They're trained crisis responders waiting to take their calls. You don't have to suffer in silence.
Quantum Records.